Hi, and thank you for listening to Dream 10X Radio, where we interview people attempting to live extraordinary lives. Our twofold purpose is to both direct and inspire people bold enough to do the same. Dream 10X. Face your fears and make your life count.
It is.
Hey, it's your boy JC.
And Dr. Capel.
And welcome to episode 62 of the Dream 10X podcast. How are y'all doing this evening? It is August 23rd. Tonight we wanted to talk about and reflect upon our experience rowing the Potomac River. We rowed the entire length of the Potomac River, starting on June. This is our log book, our captain's log book. It's kind of cool looking. I made a journal every day of our row down the river.
That's awesome.
At the end of the day, and tried to keep notes on how far we went and what we experienced and all that. So I'm going to be referring to this during this podcast because I don't remember any of it. We were talking about it today, and I couldn't even remember when we left. But according to my first entry here, we left on June 29th, and we rowed out of Gravely Point Park, which is right across a little creek from the airport, from National Airport. So you can actually, it's a free park. Anybody can launch there for free. And it's a national park. And you can watch planes, landing right there at National Airport and taking off. And it's a very noisy, it smells like jet fuel there. And it was even worse when we were there at the time that we left on June 29th. We actually got a late start. We knew it was going to be a pretty short row, and we were still getting all of our kit together.
And I had to work that morning.
And she was working, and it was just kind of chaotic. Yeah. But I think the genius of how we structured, we are geniuses.
Obviously.
The genius of how we structured our project was the first day we were going to row from Gravely Point to Belhaven Marina. Mm-hmm. Relatively short row. We had just gotten the boat ready. We were testing some systems out. And I was testing. We wanted to take our paddleboard with us, which was an insane thought, but I thought it might work. And so I was trying to figure out a way to put the paddleboard over the top of us, which would form a little bit of a shade for us, as well as at some point we could take it off and practice our paddleboarding. There was no way that was ever going to happen. Nope. But so anyway, the first day we left, I had some structures set up in the boat that would theoretically allow us to put our paddleboard up there.
The shade would have been nice on some of the hot days.
Definitely would have been good. However, I did relish getting a tan.
Yeah, we did get really tan.
And that was nice. Yeah. So anyway, the first day, we had these weird posts out. And I say that because we're going to put some video out, and you'll see these posts in the boat, and it looks kind of odd. And they were aluminum that we took from a sail from another small boat that we had. And repurposed the sail, yeah. But it's not smart on many levels. Like if we were in a thunderstorm or something, you got these aluminum posts.
Lightning rods!
So anyway, the first day was a good way to shake that out, to test it out.
And feel like our seats and what that was like, and the oars, and we realized a lot of stuff about the oars, like we needed oar locks and...
Well, we had oar locks.
Or...
Stoppers. To keep the oars from... So this is kind of an old school setup. It was not a sliding seat system, and the oars were just some old wooden oars that went through brass circular oar locks. So very old school, very simple. And I liked it that way. I didn't want any complicated sliding seat riggers and all that stuff.
We didn't need it. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you real quick about that.
Okay.
She did not want to leave without sliding seats. And
I didn't know any different.
I've rowed a gutting dory before without sliding seats. And I've thought a lot about the benefit of a sliding seat versus without a sliding seat, especially when you're doing coastal rowing. Mm-hmm. And I really don't see the benefit of having a sliding seat in coastal rowing because you're rocking around so much. Now there are coastal rowing boats that do have sliding seats, and they do seem like they do pretty well. But for what we were trying to do, and we're not trying to be breaking speed records or anything, fixed seat rowing with the old school wooden oars were fine. The only thing that we had to fix there was, like she said, we had to put some stoppers around the oars to keep them from sliding through because it's really uncomfortable to keep adjusting the inboard of your oars with every stroke. So we just put some duct tape around it.
Yeah.
And
It
that
got a little melty.
oh yeah, amazing! It got so hot that the duct tape melted, and we had to get some more duct tape.
Yeah.
I loved the heat though, so I loved it.
Yeah.
So the first day we left Gravely Point.
Did you want my opinion on the sliding seat?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
You said we were talking about it, and then you talked about it. Like, okay, glad you had your opinion.
Please share your opinion. Anyway.
That's kind of how we roll. So with the sliding seat, I agree with you that with coastal rowing, it's not necessarily needed, but I had to experience it in order to get that feel. And I had to change positions because I was in the front position and it was horrible. Like, because you have your feet up, but my feet don't reach because I have short legs.
You were in the stern of the boat to start off with.
Right, and so the seat position was just super not comfortable. I was literally every 5 minutes adjusting higher, to lower, to sideways. It was just a hot mess. Yeah. With stability, I found it very interesting too, because I don't think a sliding seat would have been very stable as a rower, especially during some of those more windy days where we were literally in a sculling boat which has 2 oars and had to switch over to 1 oar. So it was able to adjust balance and what we needed having the fixed seat, and I think that was definitely more beneficial. So yeah, I agree with coastal rowing. Sliding seat's overrated.
Yay, convert! Okay, so we left at 3:30 Gravely Point, and we pulled in. We rode about 6.5 miles that day, and the smoke from Canada was really bad, and you'll see in the videos that we're gonna put some video in right in here. Intersect. We just left Gravely Point. We're trying to get the hang of the oars. There's 14th Street Bridge, Jefferson Memorial. You can taste the air right now. It's really, and it was just really smoky, and so it was, we were breathing it. You could almost taste it. It was really bad.
It was a red or an orange on the EPA scale.
Yeah. It was an early day to leave.
Yeah.
But it kind of added to the adventure. The ambiance. And let's see, we got into Bellhaven Marina at about 6:45, and that's when we popped our first little tiny champagne, and so that was
Christened
the start.
Christened the
boat. So we just made it to Bellhaven Marina. You can see it in the background.
Woohoo!
And Cindy, how do you feel?
Good. I'm glad we made it against the tide and the wind. That was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
Day one.
We named the boat Serenity after one of our favorite sci-fi shows, Firefly. Mm-hmm. And
here's Captain Pants right here.
Serenity now. So that was our first day. Everything went well. Mm-hmm. We had to do some Uber logistics to go get the trailer and bring it down, and my daughter helped us, and she had to go to work, so there's a little chaos there, but we got it all worked out. We got back home, got the boat back home, had a nice sleep there. Then the next morning we took the boat to back to Bellhaven Marina in the morning, put the boat in the water, and we rode down to Potomac Bay. We left at 9 in the morning from Bellhaven. And let's see, we did a total of 13.9 miles that day, and we rode by George Washington's house in Mount Vernon. We had a nice lunch. Yeah. We just sat and ate sandwiches and kind of drifted down the river and watched the tourists come in and everything. And
that's cool.
Oh, a guy came out on his. He saw us rowing by, and he came out on his canoe. And it
was a windy day for him to come out.
Yeah, it was pretty windy.
Yeah.
And he paddled out, just wanted to talk to us, was interested in the boat. And we're like, yeah, it's a little wooden gunning dory that we had that we refurbed. We bought it from the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. Mm-hmm. And that boat has seen some miles on it. Had plenty of wood rot. You could see through it. Mm-hmm. Had so many holes in it. And so we patched it up really good. And so we had a quick chat about the boat and the history of it. And as he paddled, he was kind of impressed. He's like, "Oh, that's a cool boat." He's built some boats too, some wooden boats. And so as he was paddling away, I was looking at the back of his canoe, and it was just like all taped up with duct tape to keep the water out. I was like, "Yeah, I get it." So that was cool.
That was awesome.
To talk to somebody. Okay, so then we pulled into Potomac Bay, which is right across from Fort Belvoir there in Virginia. And let's see, do I remember that? It was a pretty hard road. That was 13,
it was a hard road,
13 miles.
We had wind and current we were fighting.
Evelyn's picking us up, taking me to go get the trailer so we can get the boat out of the water. We just finished rowing almost 13 miles.
No, it's over 13.
Over 13 miles. And 4.5.
God bless America.
4.5 hours.
Something like that, yeah.
We're at Potomac Bay. It's still smoky. The smoke kind of came in this afternoon. Got worse this afternoon than it was this morning. Too cool for school. Evie gonna take me to go get my trailer. What do you think about us? Do you think we're superhuman? Are we your heroes? Finally?
Yes.
Car and loaded up the trailer again, and thankfully Evelyn was there to help us out. And we came back to the house, got a good night's sleep, and then the next morning, July 1st, we put in again at the same spot, the non-motorized boat beach there at Potomac Bay. Left at 9:15, and the next stop for us was downriver at was that Leesylvania?
Mm-hmm. So this is our first actual rowing to have an overnight.
Yeah. So at this point, we're on our own.
Boat is fully loaded.
Going back to the genius of our project plan, we had 2 days to shake out our boat, our logistics, our kit, make sure everything was cool, make sure the boat didn't leak, make sure it was structurally sound. Because we had no idea, we hadn't really put it on the water that much, so we had 2 days to kind of test it out. So those are some 2 good mileage days to get a feel for it. Cindy realized her seat was kind of wonky, so she got more comfortable in the back seat. Which is good because then she can follow me. That's the way I like it. And so things seem to be pretty good. So now on this third day, we're on our own. We got to have everything with us: tent, food, water, everything for 2 weeks. And we are loaded down with tons of water. And she took care of all of that. Like, my job was to take care of the boat. Her job was to take care of the logistics, getting the places to stay for the most part. I did some of the campsites, but she did most of it. The food and the water, and we were loaded down. And that gutting dory can hold anything, it seems like. We really packed it in there.
It's a boat full of dories.
So the boat did really well. I love gutting dories. It's a really good design. John Gardner gutting dory that we had. John Gardner designed gutting dory. So Potomac Bay, we're headed towards Leesylvania. What is the name of that state park that we went by? We beached at, we came around this
Mason
bend, Mason Neck.
That's where I hike a lot.
So Mason Neck State Park, I didn't realize it was Mason Neck.
Yeah.
We were headed down towards the Occoquan, where the Occoquan comes into the Potomac. And there was this long beach, and we thought, well, let's just pull in there and have lunch. And so we pulled in and we just kind of walked around. Beautiful, nice, really beautiful beach. And it was kind of weird because, we know that 95 South is here somewhere, and, over there, and there's tons of people, but it looked like we were on a deserted island on the Potomac.
It's pretty awesome.
So it was really interesting. And they had a lot of signs that said, you can't go past this because this is a nature preserve. And so that gave me a good feeling too. It was like, oh, that's cool. And the water was clear. There's lots of grass, Drosophila or whatever they call that grass, growing in the water. And it was a very peaceful spot. And so the water, it was a calm day there, and I felt good. And then we shoved. And then we come out into the mouth of where the Occoquan meets the Potomac, and it just turned into chaos. This is July 1st.
Well, there was an island there too we checked out.
Oh yeah, we checked out. There was an island out in the middle of the river, and there was a family fishing there, but there was nobody else out there.
It was wild.
And some places the Potomac is just so large. It's we weren't used to it being so large. And then here this little rock island with a duck blind on it.
Yeah.
And so we kind of hung out there, and looked around a little bit.
Yeah.
But then when we got to the mouth of Occoquan Bay, that was like crazy. I don't remember what day July 1st was. I think it was like a Friday or a Saturday, but there were power boats coming like screaming out of there, like full speed, and they could care less about, less than a rowboat.
Yeah. And
then, of course, the wind picked up, and getting across the mouth of where the Occoquan fed into the Potomac was our first real sense of, wow, this is really going to be hard. Mm-hmm. What were you thinking when we...
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Row.
We got angry. I got angry. Like, these power boats just kept coming out and these huge, causing these huge rollers, and it just gets annoying when you're trying to row and you're rocking back and forth, and then the wind picked up, and I was like...
Yeah, the lack of consideration for non-motorized boats was impressive.
Lack of consideration. That's a good way to put it. Like, we're all out there on the water trying to enjoy it, and it's like, well, my boat's bigger than yours, so screw you. There's a lot of that out there. So anyway, getting into Leesylvania was interesting because right then that's when the wind picked up. So we then learned that wherever there are like coves where things feed in, like other rivers feed into the Potomac, it can get really rough.
Crazy. Never would have thought that.
And I think it's because of the way the tidal patterns work with the wind and stuff, but it was really, really rough.
Those are the times we usually had to go on just one oar to keep us straight.
Yeah. So that was our first experience of this cove kind of pattern where water comes from another river into the Potomac. Those are a little bit scary. So then when we finally got across, we survived the power boats and we survived the elements and the tides and stuff. We get into Leesylvania State Park. And there's a nice paddle-in campsite right there just for paddling campers.
And they cleaned it just for us because we're the first people to ever use it.
And another point is finding a place along the Potomac River where you can pull your boat up and camp. Very rare. And we are very thankful for Virginia State Parks for having these paddle-in campsites, because without them, it'd be really, really difficult to enjoy the Captain John Smith Trail from a waterman's perspective, from a rower's perspective, or a paddler's perspective, because you got to have a place to stay at night when you're doing these, 10, 15-mile treks.
And it's not just Virginia. Maryland has a significant amount of paddle-in sites as well.
They do, but they were all closed this summer, or most of them were closed, so that made our lives more difficult.
Yeah.
But Leesylvania was the first place, and it was great paddling campsite. Very nice. Very
the Rangers were awesome.
Rangers were awesome, and 9 p.m. when 9 p.m. rolls around, the Rangers roll around the park with a bullhorn and tell everybody they got to get out, which I thought was interesting. But there's a reason they do that, because the population is hard to control, and you got. Unfortunately, you got to strong arm people to get out when it's time to go. And they actually told us, the Rangers came by and said that we were the very first people to ever use that paddling campsite, which in some respects is cool. Some respects it's sad. Like, why aren't more people using that? We need to exercise that capability so we can keep that.
Yeah.
Paddling camping is a real, it's a real joy. We're not out there in a big yacht like stirring up the water and eroding the beaches where I don't know how you put it, we're
rowing.
we're almost part of the ecosystem as rowers, or the next day, July 2nd, we get up early in the morning and we set out, get on the river. It's overcast. And let's see, I knew that there was, check the weather, I knew that there was going to be, a lot of strong wind, so I wanted to get an early start. Always, if you see bad weather, it's generally good to get on the water as early as possible before the elements heat up and the wind kicks up. So we were on the water at 06:53, and the headwind was pretty bad. However, there were two kayaker fishermen who went out with us that morning. They came into the park early in the morning, like 5:30 or something, and so they went out with us, And I took comfort in knowing that they were out there. They didn't seem bothered at all in their little kayaks. I was really nervous. We had our PFDs on, and we were working pretty hard. We just stayed close to shore, and it was okay.
Yeah.
But we had to go out around this bridge, and that meant we had to go out in the middle of the river, and it got really sketchy out there. Anyway, we were fine, and we eventually made it to Widewater State Park. And so Widewater we got there at about noon. That was about a 14-mile day. And Widewater State Park was another great state park.
Oh, it was amazing.
Beautiful paddling campsite. Beautiful paddling campsite. The only thing is a little difficult to see from the river.
Yeah.
But luckily, she gave me all the GPS coordinates for all the paddle-ins, and so we just put that in our GPS and took us right there. You can't really... It was hard to see the sign. There's signs on the banks that, say paddling camping, but they're really difficult to see from the river.
Yeah.
But we got there. It was beautiful, nicely barricaded with stones, riprap to protect from erosion, as well as to provide a little safe haven for your boat when you pull it up on the beach. However, that doesn't protect it from people coming into the park.
Like, oh, look, I want to jump in your boat.
So annoying. So it's always the people you got to worry about. The nature and the campsites are awesome, but
yeah, the campsite was lovely, and then there's actually a flush toilet there, so that was kind of nice.
Fresh water.
And fresh water. So
cold.
Yeah, so we refilled all our water bottles that we drank with the water fountain water, and the Ranger. So I'm a moron and twisted my ankle. That's another story. And the Ranger actually had a wrap that I could use, and he was super awesome too. So
she put up a hammock that she brought. She's very proud of this hammock.
I've had this hammock for years.
We get our campsite all set up. She sets up this hammock, and she's like bragging about how she's had it. And she gets in there, and the hammock strings pop, and she falls and tears up her ankle.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things that Cindy did during this trip was you brought stroopwafels.
I did.
And she was
we had rationing.
She was a real stickler for rationing. So we had one stroopwafel for lunch and one, right? Or not even one for lunch.
No, one for dinner. That's it.
One stroopwafel for dinner and no more. And I got used to that, and I always wanted more, but I knew I was getting around one, and it was so good. At the end of the day, after all these long roads,
it makes you appreciate it more when you only have the one.
Oh, I tell you. And the rationing also, I lost like 5-10 pounds the whole 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we were rationing, we didn't have a ton of food.
Yeah. And
I was tan from all this, the heat and the sun and sweating it out, and I felt so healthy at the end of this thing. But it was so hard, and there was so much stress, and people messing with your boat, and you're having to constantly get up in the middle of the night and check on things, because if something happens to the boat, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Widewater
but
was
nobody
lovely.
understood that.
Yeah, but Widewater's lovely at night. We're the only people there once they closed the park.
Yeah, very secure.
We had a good night's sleep
the
that
rangers
night.
were there all the time. We never worried about anything. It was just during the day when people would come in and they're like, "Hey, look at this!"
The kids jumping in the boat, wanting to play with the oars.
Yeah. But the park Widewater is amazing. Brand new
awesome.
Park, paddling, camping, beautiful. Comfortable bathrooms, clean. There was a fresh water pump, and when you're out on the water and it's hot and you're rowing all day and you get in a spot like this, it's like Shangri-La.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And then the next morning, we left really early morning. We got up like as the sun came up, and the water was just flat, and it was just a beautiful sunrise. And that was one of the best pictures I got of our boat and the sunrise at Widewater. And that's a really, really cool spot. It's really pretty. It's got a good feel to it. So we left Widewater at 06:53 on July 3rd. Our destination on July 3rd was Caledon State Park. And that was, that was about another 13 and a half miles downriver. And Caledon State Park was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this was again. It's the same kind of. It's a state park, a Virginia state park, so that they have a typical sign, paddling camping sign. But Caledon State Park is huge, and the beach coming as you approach the paddling is it goes on forever. And so we weren't sure where it was, but thankfully with the GPS coordinates, we're like, oh, okay, we got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. And we eventually, found the campsite, and we just tied up right there to the sign, and we walked up to our campsite, and there's a little pond right next to it, and a pavilion, and practically there were a couple of other people there, but other than us, there was nobody else that. They left the next day, and we were there 2 days. We stayed there July 4th as well, just to watch, to avoid all the traffic on the river with 4th of July and all that. And it was just gorgeous, unbelievably gorgeous. And I just have a special place in my heart for that particular point in time.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it awesome?
Yeah, that was very, very sweet. It was just a lovely day. I turned off all electronics, so I didn't even look at my phone, and it was just really nice to just disconnect.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was hot. Hot as all get out.
But we swam and hung out.
We got to go to the beach, and nobody was on. We had the beach on the Potomac practically to ourselves, and every now and then we'd see boats out there, but the river's so big at that point, like.
Yeah.
And the night of July 3rd and the evening of July 4th, there were plenty of fireworks all along the river that we could watch. And what was cool, there was a family of kids. They were kids, and they were out in the river with their boat and one of those inner tubes, and they were about the only ones out there. And they were just out there all day, just pulling the kids in the inner tube and shooting off fireworks from the boat next to the beach, and it just looked like they were I was having a lot of fun just watching them.
Yeah.
And the night before we left Caledon, we watched the sun go down. They had these park benches along there, and we sat in the park benches and we watched the sun go down, and then all of a sudden we saw you explain it. I don't even know how to explain it. Out in the river.
Yeah, they were like giant skinny fish. And they were giant skinny shadows, I'll say.
Yeah.
Long, thin shadows. And it was hundreds of them. Hundreds. It was crazy. And then you would see like these little air bubbles as they seemingly were coming up for air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we couldn't figure out what the hell
they were. Just drifting down the river kind of with the current. And some of them were huge. They would just like, it looked like they were coming up to take a breath, but we couldn't see what they were.
Yeah.
Partly because the sun was going down, so we just had like sunset and ripples on the water, huge ripples on the water, and we were like, "What the heck?"
It was crazy.
Schools of tiny fish were like running away from them.
Yeah.
And so it was obviously something was chasing these schools of fish, and whatever they were big,
huge.
But
like what would you say, 6 feet?
Some of them,
yeah.
I don't know if they were. I don't know what kind of fish they were, like gar or I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
it's weird.
But we did realize that the Potomac River is brackish, so there's a lot of saltwater creatures out there. A lot of skates with the wings, and dolphins. We saw some dolphins.
Yeah, that was cool.
And whatever these things were, they were really interesting. We couldn't tell what they were, but it was a magical moment. Like, wow, see all of this life all of a sudden. There's something out there.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah.
So it was really sad to leave Caledon.
Yeah.
Just really a nice place to just like hang out for a little bit and rest. We got to rest up for an extra day there. I got maybe an extra stroopwafel.
You did.
So that was really nice.
And that was good to prep us for the next day, which was our 23-mile day, and that was our longest trek.
So that was July 5th. And again, another really hot day, very sunny. We left at 6:41 in the morning. And that's when we went downriver and we went around the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Dahlgren. We went around that, and there's a bridge that goes across the river. And Cindy was all worried we wouldn't be able to get under the bridge.
It's short.
I'm like, Cindy, it's pretty high. We're gonna
die. And then we rode by Quantico, and there was a bald eagle sitting on the American flag. Like, that was so cool.
Quantico is very industrial.
It's extremely well. It's a marine base, so
And I was starting to get sick at that point. Like, we were really rolling around at that point in the river. And again, I was getting nervous. Like, put on our PFDs, and we're like, it was really hard to get around Quantico at that point. But after we got past Quantico, things smoothed out again, and it was really nice. We rode about 21 miles that day.
It was
21 miles. And where did we pull in?
That was Newton Neck, wasn't it?
Newton Neck?
Oh no, that was Monroe Bay Campground.
Oh,
Next day was
yeah.
Newton.
Wait. No.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yep, it was Monroe Bay.
Oh, okay.
Because we kept
So,
rowing and
all right.
rowing and rowing and rowing and
Yeah,
finding
that's
places to come in.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a long, hard, hot day.
Yes.
And we dealt with some pretty serious weather for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we had
And
to
then
get through getting around
yeah.
Quantico. And then Monroe Bay came around. That was when you couldn't find any other place on the
No, there was
stay.
nowhere.
And so this is the first commercial place that we stayed at.
And they don't have tent camping.
They're like an
Motorhomes.
RV park in motorhomes, and they're just south of Colonial Beach, and they were awesome to us.
Amazing.
So nice. This is such a nice group of people there. Owners were really, really cool. Didn't even, they didn't charge us. Let us put our tent right there next to a dock, next to these bathrooms that had a dock on it. And
they had showers, they had bathrooms, and the people were amazing.
Friendly people, like driving golf carts everywhere, and just hanging out, and having fun, playing basketball, whatever.
Yeah.
And we had our tent right next to the water, which was right next to our boat, which was great because we could keep an eye on the boat. Like that was one of my big nervous points, was not being able to tell all the time what was going on with the boat. So we got to be right with our boat that night. We were just there for a night. And when we got there, Cindy grabbed a cab immediately. Once we got the tent up, it's like, I don't know what time we got there, but it was late afternoon. The sun is just beating. We're both dehydrated.
Yeah. And
it's really hot. And she grabs a cab. She goes to the nearest store, gets a bunch of beer, bunch of ice cream, bunch of Gatorade, comes back, brings a taxi back. The taxi driver was cool.
Awesome.
And so Cindy's got all these Gatorades and beers, and she's got ice cream for me, and we sit in the tent, and that was the best. Like, to have that relief when you feel like you're gonna die from dehydration. Yeah, that was such a special moment. So thank you for that.
Really
that was
good.
Amazing. That was a really nice time. And then once we got hydrated and we got cooled off, and the sun started setting, we took a shower, and life was good. We had a good sleep, and then we're up bright and early the next morning, and we left Monroe Campground.
That was to Newton Neck.
And Newton Neck, we went to Newton Neck. So Newton Neck. What was Newton Neck?
Newton Neck was the one in Maryland. It was a really good day.
Yeah. Oh, that was a horrible day. That was our worst day, I think. That was another 19-mile journey. So Newton Neck, we had to cross the river. So the first thing we did, though, was we wanted to go see some fossil beach. So we went south. There was a fossil beach on Virginia. We went by George Washington's birthplace, and that was really an interesting spot. And then we went to this fossil beach. We looked around, didn't see any. We were supposed to see like shark, fossilized shark teeth and stuff.
But it was cool to see like the different layers of sediment, and that was neat, I thought.
Yeah. I just think it was very well picked over. It's a well-known spot, and we didn't see anything. And I was very nervous because I knew the weather was supposed to like kick up, and we had to go across the Potomac was very wide at this point, like almost 8 miles, I think, at that spot. Yeah. And we had to cut over diagonally from Fossil Beach over to Newton Neck. And sure enough, the wind picked up, and the whole way over, it was like she was saying, like one arm just to keep the boat on the run line, and it was really scary. Yeah. I was scared. And then when we got over to the
so go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We get over to the Maryland side, but there's a thunderstorm right in front of us. Is that where you were going with this? Yeah, there's a thunderstorm right in front of us. So we're like, ah! And so we're trying to outrun the thunderstorm.
Lightning coming down.
Yeah, you can see it. It was really
It's
cool.
on the Maryland side. It's not on the Virginia side, but that's exactly where we're headed. And so we're like watching this storm. It looked like it was going south of us, and that's kind of the way it moved, but it was bringing all the wind with it, and we were going right headlong into it. And I wasn't sure where we were going. How much further we had to go, because we were fighting so hard to keep from getting blown into a dock, or once we got over to the Maryland side, there's just docks everywhere. Yeah. And we wanted to be close to shore, but you couldn't get too close or you'd get blown into a dock. So we were trying to navigate that while making way. And we actually had to call the camp
Well, there's 2 campsites there. There's for Newton Neck. One is on one side of the inlet, and one is on the other side. So we were trying to get to the other side. So I just called the ranger and said, "Hey, we're gonna go to this side because it's a little closer." And she said she totally supported that decision.
Thankfully, there was nobody there.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, that somebody was there. But.
So I forget the name of that inlet that we had to cross there.
Saint Britain.
It was Saint something.
Yeah, Breton.
What was that? No, Saint Clement.
Saint Clement, Britain was the other side.
Yeah, Saint Clement Bay that we had to get across, and I was done. I was completely out. I had nothing. I had more in my tank, but I felt like I had nothing left in my tank. Mm-hmm. But there was no other option. Like, what were we going to do? Like, so we were playing around with, well, what if we just went on the shore and just waited for the wind to pass? But we somehow
there was no shore. It was all docks.
I was really at my line. I was playing around with the line. I knew. Obviously, I had a little bit more in me. I don't know about you.
I was fine. I was stressed, but I had.
I was done. Like I had not felt like that. I can't think of a time that I felt like I just had nothing left to give, but I kept doing it. Mm-hmm. So that was an interesting thing, like to think about. I felt like didn't have anything left. And I don't think I could have gone around the island to the side that we were. I honestly don't think I could have made that. So I'm glad we changed plans. We went to the other side of the St. Clement side. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, once we got there, calm water. And here we are taking pictures and like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what we just went through. It's just calm.
Yeah. As soon as we turned into the little inlet, it was beautiful.
It's almost like, was this all made up in my mind? Like, were those waves like just made up?
No, they were not.
So it's amazing the faces of the Potomac. Mm-hmm. From hour to hour, minute to minute out there. Like you can be like thinking you're going to die, and the next minute is just depending on where you are and what's blocking the wind or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that was just really interesting. So again, that campsite on the Maryland side, Newton Neck, gorgeous.
Nobody. It's only paddling, no motorboats, no nothing. And you can't even get there by car. So it's amazing.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And the campsite was right under a mimosa tree. And I didn't know what a mimosa tree until Tanya Bunger told us what a mimosa tree was. Yeah. It had little flowers on it. And we're there late in the afternoon, and sure enough, the sun comes out and it gets blazing hot. Mm-hmm. And I'm laying down without a shirt on under this tree. Cindy's down at the beach. We're just like recouping, rehydrating and eating and trying to get our energy back. I'm totally drained. I'm laying down underneath this tree. Hummingbirds start flying around me everywhere because of the flowers on the mimosa tree, and they're going from flower to flower. And there's bees everywhere, and they're all in flower to flower. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, how did I end up in heaven? I was just in hell like 5 minutes ago. It was insane. Like I really felt like, I was in hell, and now I'm in heaven. It's just separated by a few hours. Mm-hmm. Really, really cool. So then we left Newton Neck on July 7th. We're gonna have to speed this up. We can talk about this stuff forever. We left at 7:30 in the morning. It was a calm day, as I recall. Mm-hmm. We got to Coles Point Marina at about 10:50.
And that's back on the Virginia side. So we went back across the river.
And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go across that river again because I was, shell shocked.
Then I reminded him we have to go back across like 3 more times.
So wait, Coles Point Marina.
That was over in Virginia, and that was on the White Beach. The white sandy beach with the pool. They had a pool.
Oh, Coles Point Marina. Yeah.
So we don't want to talk about that.
So that was a 10-mile day. We had dinner at a restaurant there. That was our first dinner out in a couple of days.
We ate. What did we eat?
Oh my God.
Had a salad. And then we had, I think, 2 pounds of shrimp and a burger and crab legs. And we ate all the food. Yeah, was it 2 pounds of shrimp?
2 pounds of shrimp.
Yeah. So
the waitress thought we were like, "There's no way."
We kept ordering,
like, and she can't eat that much.
Oh yeah. Watch me.
We ate way too much.
Yeah, it was so good.
But it was good.
And they had a pool, and so we hung out in the pool, and that was nice refreshing. So we left the next morning.
The next morning we left at 06:28, and we went to Dennis Point Marina. Dennis Point Marina. Dennis Point. So we're back across the river. We had to go back across the river, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But that's what we had to do because there weren't a lot of places to camp, and Sydney had to really work hard to find spots for us. And so we went across the river again. Thankfully, we got an early start because the wind did pick up again. And Dennis Point is way up next to the St. Mary's River on the Maryland side. And thankfully, when we got over there, it calmed out. It smoothed out again. And a lot of state park looking land there, a lot of vacant land. And so we're like, in case things didn't work out with the marina, maybe we could just pull up on shore here. And so we're scoping out. It seemed like there were a lot of opportunities. We get to the marina. Cindy jumps out and goes and talks to the owner about a reservation, and turns out what?
So we ended up sleeping in the boat, and that was our first night in the boat. And they were just lovely. They also had a pool and a restaurant. We did not partake of this place. No. They had showers, which I did, and super nice place. And so we slept in the boat that night, where we could stay with the boat because the tent sites were pretty far away from where the boats would be. And that was really nice, and watched the sunset, and it was calm and it was peaceful, and sleeping in the boat was interesting, especially
I slept like a rock,
especially in the middle of the night when you got to get up to pee, and the dock is like really high up and you're tiny.
Oh, that was another interesting thing. Now that we're pulling into marinas and tying up at docks, it's interesting how much the boat will rise and fall with the tide. We didn't really realize that. But that, to me, was so relaxing to feel the boat come up and rock at night and then go back down.
It just made me have to pee.
I slept so good in the boat. I didn't think I would sleep at all.
Yeah. He did. He snored the whole time. I slept out of exhaustion, but I didn't sleep very well. So Dennis Point was awesome, and then we left there.
Well, there was a beautiful old oak tree right by our boat, and with a picnic table, and it was that was heaven for me. We just sat
and then
there.
Ruth Ann came to stay.
Oh yeah, Ruth Ann.
Yeah.
From what rowing club?
St. Mary's Rowing
Club. She stopped by to say hi. She heard about our thing, and so that was really cool to see make a human connection there.
Yeah, and we know all the same people from rowing, and so it was nice.
Yeah. Ruth Ann McConnell, right?
Yep. She was awesome.
Yeah, that was. I love that spot. That was very relaxing, and then I slept very well there. So. The next morning, in the oak tree, that was,
very peaceful.
Trees and shade were very important in this trip because we had no shade whatsoever. So 03:45, we get up, and I can't remember why we got up so early. I think
because we wanted to leave really early because of the tide. I think tides
played a big role as well. We wanted to be going out with the tide. Yeah, because that was a long. Cove to a big marina, not a
river. It's a
big river to get out into the main river. So we got up early to ride the tide out. 03:45, but that was cool, and we ate breakfast on the.
And James rowed, and I was spotting with the light, and it was cool.
Yeah, that was fun. Rowing out there at dark. Yeah,
watching the sunrise.
So. From there, we went back across the Potomac River to Cone River Marina. We had a hard time finding that, but that was a pretty uneventful row for the most part.
Yeah, it was.
That was a good row. We pulled into Cone River.
Lovely marina, family owned.
That was a 15-mile row. We got in there. We left essentially at 5 in the morning, and we got in at 10:43. And these guys. The twin brothers, family running that. The family is from, I think, Chantilly or something like that.
Up where we were in Northern Virginia.
And they bought the marina. Really cool family. And they were kind of surprised that we were in this little rowboat wanting to use the marina.
What the hell are you doing?
Can we just sleep in the boat here for the night? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And so we tied up there, and then later that afternoon, that storm, we were trying to avoid the storm. Sure enough, the storm came through. That was the first storm that we had, dumped a bunch of rain, and we just sat on their deck and drank.
Well, if you look right in front of that houseboat, right on the end on the left side, Serenity is just in front of it. They're the same color, so she blends in a little bit. But hopefully she doesn't get, oh yeah, she's getting soaked. Crazy storm. We've avoided this for 11 days. We left at 5 o'clock this morning, got up at 3:30 to make sure that we would get out of the storm. So we are under shelter. We are at Cone River Marina, and it's an awesome marina. It's family owned. They're fantastic. The sons run it. The parents own it. And we have this, I'm going to turn slowly now, thank you, nauseous. Oh, that's a boat from Koblenz, Germany. How cool is that? Walk it here a little bit. That's Koblenz. Okay. Hi.
Oh man, where's all this water?
Crazy
Sorry,
storm.
Fortunately, they had a little awning outside their main office, so.
Yeah, we kind of camped on that further on. It was a little, you know.
They were very
awkward,
tolerant of
but
us.
We weren't there long. They got rid of us soon, so that was fun. And then we left Cone Marina the next day. That was Monday at 7:15. It was calm. And this was the last day.
Yeah.
So from Cone Marina, we're almost at going to our destination at Smith Point Marina in Reedville. And so it's important to time the tide there well. Also, because you got to get into Wicomico River Inlet.
And it's a very narrow inlet, and so the tide is super powerful.
It's very, very powerful. When it goes out, it's like a rushing river getting out into the Chesapeake Bay.
So fighting that as rowers is almost impossible.
Yeah. So we were very worried about making that, and I think we had two chances. There was one at noon, and then one like 8:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
And we got out into the Potomac, and that was probably our second or first roughest day.
I would say that was the worst day. Yeah.
Very, very scary. And we're close to shore, too. We're hugging the shore. And the swells
white
are like
caps.
White caps and like higher than our gunnels. And if we couldn't control the boat and if we were to present our beam to the oncoming swells, we could have gotten swamped very easily. So we pulled in one person's beach. It was a private beach. And we were like, oh, God, we don't get pushed out of here. And we waited there for about an hour. It looked like it was calming down a little bit, so we shoved off again. No, it was just as bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
So we pulled onto another beach.
We went about another 1.5 miles or so down.
Yeah. Pulled onto another beach. That one was more like public property.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was private property. So we pull up on this beach, and we're like, what do? We gotta beat the tide. So we tried rowing out of that beach down the coast a little bit because it looked like it calmed down a little bit. And not really. In fact, the wind is going to pick up here throughout the afternoon. So it's about 10:30 in the morning right now. So the wind is south, out of the southwest. Out of the southwest, but the waves are coming at us off of our beam, and it's really hard to steer, and that gets dangerous because we need to go around points like this. So at times we can run with the water, but then you can't run with the waves definitely, or you end up on the shore, and we have to go around these little coves like that, and that's when things get really sketchy because we can't really control the boat at that point. So we came up on this shore, this little beach. I don't think it's private property. If it is, I'm sure we'll find out. But it's a nice little beach. There are definitely private property signs further down, but I think it's for the house that's next to this. I mean, you look this way and it looks clear, it looks doable, but the sunlight makes the waves in the current not as visible if you go this way, and then you can see there's white caps and big rollers out there. That's really the big issue is, I mean, if we could run with the energy of the river in any direction it wanted us to go, south would be great, but we can't. We have to go around these coves, and it's just too strong to go against in this boat right now. So we're gonna wait for the energy to abate a little bit. Hopefully again, beached. Serenity, the beached boat. Trying to figure a way out to this last leg. And I was like, well, whatever it takes, we'll just, if we have to row all night or whatever, we'll do it. And we got a light, and that would be our first real night rowing. So,
and during this whole time, while we're debating,
talking about what are our options, blah blah blah,
the tide goes out and further out, and our boat is happily sitting on land, far from the river. So that was our choice.
It was like an oyster bed. We pulled up on an oyster bed or something, and we're just like sitting there. What do we do? What are we gonna do? What's the tide doing? What's the wind doing? Well,
so it was a lovely day on the beach. Hung out, played with the oysters, read, slept, and baked in the sun. It was just a really nice day.
Yeah. So the hope, though, while we were waiting, was that the tide would come in soon enough, and we could push off, and we could zoom down the river and get to the inlet before the tide changed at 8:30 that night. But I didn't think we were going to make that.
Yeah.
I just didn't see things smoothing out, and I didn't know how, you don't know what's going to happen. So we called Smith Point Marina and said, hey, we're going to be late.
We're coming at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, we thought maybe, just set expectations. It might be 3 or 4 in the morning before, because then, that would be the next table for the tide to change.
Yeah.
So they were like, fine, we'll leave a key. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Whatever happens. We'll be fine rowing out here. As long as it's calm, we can row in the middle of the night.
Yep.
But about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the water, we sat and watched the water. It was like watching paint dry.
It's coming, it's closer.
The water started trickling up. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
We really got close to nature and how the rhythm works. And it was really fun. And so we watched the water trickle up, and we started trying to move the boat. We could not budge that boat for nothing. And by about 3:30 or 4, we finally had enough water under our bottom, under her bottom. She's a flat bottom boat, to start nudging it out until there was a little bit deeper area where there was a little bit more water.
This much water under her.
We were pushing it. We finally got it out there. We're like, yes, we're gonna make it. So that was like hope. That was our first glimmer of hope.
So we had 3 hours to go 8 miles to get to where we needed to go.
Yeah. And so we hopped in the boat. I was ecstatic at that point. I knew we were going to make it. I knew we were going to make it at that point, because I wasn't expecting to get out that early. And the conditions had flattened out by then, and the sun was beating down, and there was hardly any wind. So the river just totally changed its personality from the morning to the afternoon. And so that was interesting as well, to see that change. So we're out on the water. Potomac's a totally different person now, and we are just hammering it, just rowing as fast as we can in our little fixed seat. And Cindy had put a clock in the back of the boat, so we're watching that clock, we gotta beat this time. So we rowed for an hour and a half and took a quick break, took some selfies, because we was hydrated. Then we rowed again for an hour and a half, and sure enough, we got right to that inlet just as the sun was going down, 8:15. And Cindy started live streaming as we, just beat the tide into the inlet.
Yeah, the sun went just down, the tide changed.
Just started changing.
Perfect way to end.
Man, we couldn't have timed it any better.
Totally.
It was such a great, I'll never forget it. It was just the greatest ending to the whole adventure. It was wonderful.
And then we had a lovely little Airbnb at Smith Point Marina to...
Next day, I just slept the whole night. So I also want to mention that I've been having real back problems from all this rowing and everything, and working on the boat and bending over and lifting and stuff. I totally jacked up my back, and so it didn't really bother me rowing, but taking stuff up to the campsite and all that stuff, my back was just killing me this whole time. So when we get to Smith Point Marina, all of it's finally done. I sleep practically the whole next day. And then all of a sudden, the back pain is totally gone. Totally gone for 4 days, 5 days. And I don't know why. I don't know what happened. We think it might have been the mattress that was there.
Or just you finally relaxed, maybe a combination.
Yeah, it was just amazing. It was awesome. So that was our trip. in a nutshell,
Yes.
Smith Point Marina is a wonderful place. It was really nice to be there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for listening to our episode 62 where we talk about our road down the Potomac River. We really appreciate it, and we will see you soon. We will talk to you soon. We'll put out another podcast soon.
Cool.
Over
Ciao.